We're here at the Norton Simon Museum in Pasadena, California, looking at John Honor Fragonard's The Happy Lovers. It's a Rococo painting done between 1760 and 1765.
The style came about when Louis XIV, King of France, finally passed, yet his grandson was not old enough to take the throne. He had outlived his son. He had to have a regent, the Duke of Orleans, and this regent began to loosen the morals of the French court and basically promoted the indulgence of the French nobility.
And this painting in and of itself is an indulgence for the nobility. It's supposed to make them feel the gaiety of their lifestyle. They abandoned the harsh French Baroque art, and the artist began to paint this new light and fluffy style.
And this painting has all the qualities characteristic of this style, from the extremely bright lighting to the bright pastel colors of their clothing, and the greens in the background, and the wispy brushstrokes that are extremely evident in the blue sky behind them.
Don't forget the outdoor placement too.
Of course, these people are literally out in the heart of nature.
And that was an actual characteristic of a specific Rococo style known as Fragonard, invented by Antoine Watteau. Fragonard paintings show these extremely upper-class males and females lying around in the outdoors, lounging in nature, and often dressed in peasant clothing.
However, they obviously aren't peasants because their skin is extremely pale, meaning they don't do any work outside.
And it was exactly that idea that poked fun at the true peasants.
Exactly. I mean, we even see that there's a hat lying on the right, and it's supposed to shade their faces, but they're not using it, so it simply lies there.
The man looks up at her admiringly, and the woman seems to look down on him innocently.
But if you look closely at the female here, you can see she is actually not innocent at all.
Right.
She has a little bird cage, and she seems to dangle it over her lover here, and this supposedly means to say she's a bird collector. And connected to that small cage is a string that leads down to a much larger cage that we see vaguely at the bottom left corner.
Right, and what she seems to be suggesting with the cage is that the man should give her the little bird he's holding.
She, of course, isn't truly a bird collector.
Of course.
This idea is meant to symbolize that this woman actually collects young men. She is simply seducing him, forcing him to fall for her, and yet she simply wants to add him to her collection of various sexual partners.
In context, this concept makes a lot of sense. Within the nobility in France, there were a lot of powerful women, and this is the one possible reason as to why the Rococo style is known as the feminine style.
I mean, you almost feel bad for the young man here. The dove is supposed to represent everlasting love, yet the cage shows that one dove can easily be released and another lover can be found.
Fragonard especially liked to play with this concept of courtly love.
Aside from this hidden meaning, we can see some clever artistic techniques and devices, such as the use of the arch to really frame these two lovers in that special moment.
And Fragonard has really successfully created this pyramidal composition. There's a very obvious triangle with the girl's head at the top point, the man's feet and limbs as one corner, and the bird cage in the distance as the other.
And although the nobility really didn't do much in nature besides lay around, there really is a sort of coexistence with nature here. Their bare feet and lounging positions surrounded by nature are almost reminiscent of certain moments in Shelley's Frankenstein when Victor Frankenstein is walking among nature.
Exactly. Shelley writes moments of that text as if nature almost gives Victor a sense of catharsis, releasing everything off of his shoulders, and I think the painting does the same thing for these two. They're able to let go of themselves for this little secret outing in the gardens.
And even to jump a bit later in French history, we see the same situation presented here in Victor Hugo's work Les Miserables. The poor working-class girl Fantine is in love with a man of the bourgeoisie class, while he simply wants to have this sort of fling with her. And she does end up giving her bird to him, and yet he releases it, runs off back to his family, and leaves her heartbroken and pregnant.
That's a sort of social comment on social class as well. The nobility and the bourgeoisie both seem to have this idea that they can just mess around and have temporary affairs and do whatever they want, just as these lovers are doing in the painting. The bourgeoisie attempted to be less like the careless nobility, but they still seem to act in correlation with that group.